you've been working on this for a minute. So like, just first off, how does it feel? Like, what were your feelings on the opening day? Like after working on this for so long and seeing it up and seeing everything, like what were the initial feelings?
I was relieved in a way. I was excited that everybody could see the show and that I could finally share this project. Like you said, I've been working on it for a long time. But I was relieved because at that point, nothing else can go wrong.
All right, guys, welcome to the very first installment of Conversations with Creatives. This is the first installment of this interview series. I'm here with Ms. Jayla Slater, the curator for Unraveled, the current exhibition here at the University of Memphis Art Museum. So in this first installment, we'll be sitting with emerging creatives, curators, artists, and entrepreneurs, and just kind of pretty much sitting with people who are kind of like shaping the cultural landscape in their respective communities. And you, of course, are one doing that with this beautiful exhibition. And so we'll just kind of be talking about your creative journey, personal stories of cultural influences, your creative process, your curatorial process, and yeah, just kind of seeing what drives your work. So we'll start off kind of talking about the show itself. We'll talk about your background. We'll talk about the challenges you faced and just the importance of this exhibition overall. So first off, I just want to say congratulations.
Like, thank you. Thank you.
One of the more interesting exhibitions I've seen here in the city in a minute. So we'll hop right into it. So Unraveled. I know that you've worked on this. You've been working on this for a minute. So like, just first off, how does it feel? Like, what were your feelings on the opening day? Like after working on this for so long and seeing it up and seeing everything, like what were the initial feelings?
I was relieved in a way. I was excited that everybody could see the show and that I could finally share this project. Like you said, I've been working on it for a long time, but I was relieved because at that point, nothing else can go wrong. So it was really great, and it was heartwarming because everybody was here, everybody was having a good time. I felt really loved and very supported. So that would be my initial feeling.
That's what's up, that's what's up. So of course this is an all-women show, and it's a show. So just kind of to walk us through that, like, well, first of all, tell us about Unraveled, the title, Unraveled.
Yes,
like
Unraveled.
Yeah, how did this come about?
Okay, so Unraveled came about because this is a show that is all Black women using textiles as a mean of storytelling, and Unraveled is here to literally unravel those stories, right, that these women are telling through all of their different, modes of creative expression. So that's the title of Unraveled and how that came about. And that's the short and sweet overall summary of the show.
Okay. The theme, I mean, you kind of talked about it a little bit, but yeah, just kind of walk us through like, why textiles? Why the
textiles?
Theme?
Yeah, so my background is in textiles. I actually studied fashion, and my approach to textile work is usually in like a fashion type of lens. And as I've been working in contemporary art over the past few years, I've been meeting all of these amazing Black women who are doing something vastly different with the medium, right? So in my one way of manipulating textiles and fabrics, I saw all of these other different things happening, and it just really piqued my interest and got me going thinking about all of the different things that we do. So I've been having a great time deep diving into the vast world of textile art, specifically created by Black women. So
let's talk a little bit about the works in this show. So you spoke about, this being an all Black women led show. So like, what are some of how do you think some of the works in this show speak to the challenges, speak to or challenge the narratives about Black identity, especially women, Black identity, history, and culture?
That's a really great question. I would say that all of these shows, not all of the shows, all of the pieces equally do that, because we're the ones writing these stories and forming these identities within the work, right? Each of these artists is their own penman. And so some of these things confirm one person's ideas or expectations about Black women, while maybe another person that might challenge, their same set of expectations. So, I would say both and they all do that, right? That's the beauty of telling your own story or saying your own thing about yourself. So, yeah, that's the work.
Okay. Did any of the pieces or moments in the exhibition surprise you or challenge you during the curatorial process?
Yes, they did. A lot of them actually had their own set of challenges, from hanging the Janessa Ladson up from the ceiling. Figuring that out was really a conundrum, but we got it done and we got it hung. Or getting Jake Amuzan's work in from London was another challenge we faced, with crating and shipping and all of those different things. Harmonized tax codes, tariffs, everybody's favorite word right now. So yeah, they all had their own set of things, while other things were, easy breezy, but breezy.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So within your process, how did you go about selecting these artists? I'm sure you had a huge pool of very talented women to choose from. So what was their process like? How did you come down okay, these are the artists I'm going to roll with?
Someone asked me that question earlier, and it's a mix of both things. So once I kind of came up with my curatorial thesis and where I was going with this show, I cast a really wide net and started working with the people that wanted to work with me. And then we experienced a crazy turn of events where all of the initial funding and support for the show fell through, and we had to take a major pivot for the show in terms of all of that kind of thing. And every single one of those women stuck with me and genuinely wanted to be a part of this, even though they likely were not going to get paid. So yeah, it's really been okay, if it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. And everything came together how it was supposed to.
And it happened. Yeah, no, that's dope. You got some heavy hitters in here too. Not to name drop a few, but April Bay being one of them. Yeah, this is dope. Speaking back to, creating a space for Black art and specifically Black women art, would you look at either this show in your curatorial practice or just your curatorial practice overall? Do you look at it as a form of activism or cultural preservation?
I would definitely say it's a form of both, because you'd be surprised that in this day and age, cultural preservation is a form of activism, right? So we're experiencing a time and a place where the thing is to actively rewrite what's being done in history. You look at executive orders that are coming out and telling museums what to say and how to say it. So preserving culture is an act of activism in itself, which is an interesting thing to say, but it's true. And I think that my curatorial practice overall would be definitely an act of cultural preservation.
Definitely. Okay. So with working with a group show with so many different artists, different styles, different narratives, how do you balance your own creative vision with the voices of the artists that you featured in the show?
Right. That's a great question too. You got a really good question. You got really good questions. I would say that when it comes to that, we really were just all on one accord. Everybody really, I think that comes down to the artist selection process too, like choosing who you're working with. Everybody's creative thesis already went with the show, everybody's creative process. These women were already doing these things in their respective places and spaces. And so who am I to tell you to not do this in order to fit it with the show? And so that selection process really came down to people who were already kind of doing these things and telling their stories. And because of the way that I approached this show, it kind of, everybody's story went with it, right? Everybody's way of telling their story through textiles arts really worked and fit with the creative vision. And so sometimes, you know, I let these women do their thing, and that was that.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Your background is in fashion.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how you moved into the curatorial space. Like, how did that even happen?
So I took a hiatus from fashion to work in a nonprofit art space. And while I was there, I found myself having a lot of opinions about the curatorial happenings. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe this isn't just you have a thought about what else is going on. Maybe there's something more I have to say here. And so it began. And, you know, I started reading one book or watching a video or meeting someone, and it kind of just snowballed from there.
You've been, you know, of course, fashion is a form of art and communication. So like, when did you first, how did you even get into fashion? Like, yeah, tell us about that. Like,
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. I got into fashion when I was 16. I was the youngest person to ever do Memphis Fashion Week. In fact, they hadn't even had a teen category. It was a bunch of millennials and myself at the time, because my mom taught me how to sew. And I realized that I was sick and tired of making Pinterest projects. And so she was like, you know, well, this is as far as I can take you. And a bunch of older church ladies had some books, and I started learning how to make clothes. And so then it kind of snowballed from there. YouTube was just coming out. Of course, Project Runway has been around since the dawn of time. And so I would turn on the TV, see what they were doing, and, you know, figure out what I could do to make my own clothes a little extra special. So that's how it got started. And I studied fashion in college and carried on. I love doing projects for other people. I love fashion consulting, working with other brands, coming in for a short time. But yeah, that's fashion. That's how I got started in my background.
so what would you say was like the first thing that was like, okay, this is interesting. I want to be in this field, this world. What was the initial inspiration from that?
I would say it's a show that I worked on with Frankie, with Madam Frankie, the photographer. And at the time it was a show called Lens Language. And throughout the process, we were going through how we were gonna display the works, or what order things needed to be put on the walls in order to make sure that the narrative was read clearly. And I really connected with it. I loved it. I had so much fun. I was like, wow, it didn't even feel like work at that point, and it just got me excited. So I would say that was the first moment where I kind of started to realize, like, oh, I really, really like this. So
You're talking about curating.
yeah, talking about curating.
I was talking about fashion.
You were talking about fashion.
First, yeah, like
My
was it-
first thing
yeah.
with fashion was I made a pair of pants, okay? And at the time, ruffle pants were in fashion. And so everybody had pants with the ruffles at the bottom, and I needed a pair so bad. My mom would not buy them for me. So I made my own, and I thought I was so cool breezy. I would not take these ruffle pants off. But it was just the act of being able to do my own thing and make my own thing, and like, you're unstoppable. Like, who's gonna stop me from making this? And I think that's when I really started connecting with fashion, yeah.
When was the first time you saw yourself reflected in the art world? What did that moment mean to you?
The first moment I saw myself reflected in the art world. That's a great question. I don't know, Breezy. I don't know. I would probably say, and when it comes to the art world, right, I would say, I would probably go back to Frankie again.
Frankie.
Yeah, Frankie, because it was a little bit different than, you know, arts and crafts, you know, the fine art world. Like, we're in the fine art world, which was a lot different than my school art program or, you know, even my college arts programs. And seeing Frankie just kind of like come in and dominate that space for like the first time, I don't know, it was the first time I really saw myself in the art world, so to speak. So I would say that's when.
So you've been, you know, in this curatorial space for maybe 3-ish years, 4 years. How do you feel about the current state of just the Memphis arts community in general? And where do you see yourself in it?
I feel that the state, I think we're on a precipice right now when it comes to the Memphis art scene. We're at a space where like something really big is about to happen. So hopefully something really good. hopefully that means something really good. But I think we're at a precipice because we are at a point where there's lots of space for things to grow. And so I'm really excited about that. We definitely need it. But I think the biggest thing that sets Memphis' creative community apart is the fact that it functions like a community. Even like working on this project, you know, we get to call up all of our local creative friends and being like, hey, do you want to help out with this? Or, you know, that sort of thing. And, you know, helping each other out. So I think that's the best part about it, and where I see myself is continuing to do that sort of thing. It doesn't really exist in other cities, that type of like brotherhood. So that's something that we have that's really special here.
How do you think, you know, after, you know, doing this for the past couple of years, like, how do you think your personal background, including like your cultural and community roots, like influence your curatorial voice?
They're my everything. Like my cultural and my community background, literally it would not be possible without my community background, right? Like even down to being able to get the graphics done for this show, or, you know, having people volunteer to come in and help me out with all sorts of things. So the community is very important, always. And my cultural identity always shows up in the work because, like you said earlier, my curatorial practice is an act of cultural preservation. And so I don't ever want to get to a place where, you know, what they say, you forget where you came from or anything like that. So I would definitely say that's how that shows up.
So you spoke earlier about, you know, some of the challenges you faced when originally working to produce the show. Mm-hmm. So what kept you motivated during that process?
I would say it was the artists. You know, the artists, we had already started working together on the show, the momentum had built up, and also the community. You know, it got to a point where nobody believed that the show wasn't going to happen. So the questions were, when is the opening? Or I can't wait for the show. And so at that point, I had no choice but to go ahead and put it on. So you do what you have to do. You don't want to disappoint the people that are special to you or that believe in you. So the show must go on.
For the audience and the viewers that come to see this show, like, what is the number one thing you want people to take away from viewing Unraveled?
I would say the number one thing I would want people to take away is the ability to find the beauty in their own stories and in the textile arts that surround us all the time, because it's not a thing that only exists in the museum. Even earlier, we had a tour come through today, and everybody has a special blanket, and everybody has, you know, that outfit that makes them feel fly or whatever, and, you know, has these different experiences with textile arts that, you know, we use to tell our own stories. So I think that would be my biggest takeaway is for people to find those things in their own lives.
I do want to walk around. You show us a couple of the pieces.
Okay.
Talk about those. And I appreciate you having this sit down with me, Jayla. It's definitely inspirational, motivational.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you being the first guest, the first interview on Conversations.
I feel special being the
Creators.
first guest.
Yeah.
Thanks
But,
for inviting me,
No,
Breezy.
for sure. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. And just be on the lookout for the next one. And if you're seeing this, how long is the show open?
The show is up until August 16th.
August 16th,
August 16th.
2025, Memphis, Tennessee, University of Memphis Art Museum, Unraveled.